This is the Digital Savage Experience Podcast, hosted by Prokopchuk, bringing you all things digital marketing, tech, business, and motivation. What's stopping you from becoming relentless in all aspects of life? Are you ready to become a digital savage? Let's get into today's episode.
Hey everyone, this is Prokopchuk, and this is the Digital Savage Experience Podcast. Today I have with me Brady Smith. Brady is a professional website designer, copywriter, and also narrates the occasional audiobook. Thank you for joining me today.
Hey, I'm glad to be here, Roman. It was, just very generous of you to invite me on the show.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So tell me a little bit about your journey. How did you get to where you are now?
Oh boy. So I probably got kind of the entrepreneurial bug like early on. It was probably, 13, 14 where I was kind of like, okay, there's got to be more than just a normal 9-to-5 type of work. But I wasn't really introduced to it until quite a bit later on. I kind of had that simmering there. And when I graduated high school, I'd done a little bit of college work to try and get a degree. I didn't really know what that degree was going to be on. It was just kind of, like CLEP tests and that sort of thing. And once I graduated out of high school, I just got into some normal jobs. I worked at a tree service job, and I worked at a tire shop, and I worked building airplanes for a while. And then eventually I got on working for UPS. And that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, because I had a lot of people around me just being like, wow, you made it to UPS. Now it's like you got it made in the shade, and you're, worked there for 40 years and you're going to be set. And I was like, oh no. Because, I don't know. I mean, I have a lot of respect to the UPS drivers out there, because it is a tough job, and I did not enjoy 1 second of it. So I was just like, oh my goodness, like 8 months that I worked there felt like an eternity. I couldn't even picture working 40 years there. So that was kind of the impetus. I was like, okay, I got to figure something else out. And that really started me learning as much as I could. And it was about 6 months after I quit UPS that I actually got on with, it was a salaried position for a national nonprofit. I was doing their website and some digital marketing and stuff like that. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. Like I can work from home. I set my own schedule. I get, paid on results instead of hours. And I was like, okay, there's something here. And that was really when I started getting into podcasts, discovered the 4-hour work week, things like that. And then it was like, yeah, off to the races.
No, that's awesome. And I think that's a great luxury of being in, website design, development, digital marketing, that, anywhere you really have an internet connection, you can be working. And obviously a lot of it is remote based. And I think you made a good point. I don't know if it's generational, but, the goal 20, 30 years ago was, you find a job, a quote unquote good job, and then you stay in that until you retire. And then you just go along your, on your merry way with whatever that they give you, a watch or whatever. But I don't know if it's a generational mindset, but I think, I like you said, I'm not knocking people in that situation, because also that stability is related to your situation. So obviously, if you have a family, if you have circumstances, it's hard to pivot or, jump around or test and feel out the stuff that you're, maybe passionate about. But I mean, personally, in the last 11 years, I've pivoted as much as I could and learned as much as I could as well. I mean, I have basic understanding of HTML and CSS in terms of how to apply it to digital marketing and things like SEO and website performance. And, I got into digital marketing as a result of the 2008 recession and have been in it for, about 11 years. So I think anyone that, is in a situation now with this whole coronavirus stuff and anything that may come in the foreseeable future, I think it's important to take advantage of the situation as well.
Yeah, no, and I totally agree with that. I think a lot of people are realizing, like, if you are putting in your hours, there's really no road to wealth in just working an hourly job. And a lot of people have different motivations for wealth. And a lot of people, even look down on wealth and this is like, it's this bad, dirty thing. But, I think my motivation and what I'm really striving for in becoming wealthy is not to serve myself, but to serve other people. And if that's your motivation, I think, it just fuels you to move on with this entrepreneurial roller coaster. I mean, you talked about stability, and I think that is such a point like that people get hung up on. Like, well, I got this 9-to-5 job, I got the 401k and the health care and all that sort of thing, but they don't realize that stability, if you trade it for freedom, you also get that instability. So that freedom of entrepreneurship has the leveling factor of that instability that I don't know. I don't think everyone's built for it. I've questioned if I'm built for it sometimes. It can be hard. It's definitely an uphill battle, but if it's something that you're really interested in, I think it's worth it.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, I think people oftentimes vilify, money and wealth. But like you said, in order to have a bigger impact, you need a bigger reach.
Yeah. So, once I quit UPS and then kind of got started and read the 4-Hour Work Week, I was like, okay, and it's like, what can I do that is actually gonna have this kind of impact? And by that time I had finished, I actually ended up getting my degree. I have a degree in communications. I tell people that that's where I learned to talk good. And then I was working for this national nonprofit and really enjoying what I was doing for them. But I knew that I needed to expand beyond that, because as awesome as it was to have that position, I knew that I wanted like my own thing. So that's where I started getting into copywriting. And I think this might be, hopefully it's helpful to some people. I was talking to my brother when I wanted to start this. I was like, it just doesn't seem like anybody gets paid to write. And that's really what I want to do, is I want to write and do that. And he was basically told me, he's like, if you want to do something, just start doing it, which sounds so simple and, just ridiculously easy. But it is something that a lot of people don't do, is just take that action. So I was able to just started doing a blog. It was actually a political blog that I ended up writing it for myself pretty much because nobody else read it. But it was a learning experience. And through that, I think I probably totaled around 200,000 words, and it built discipline, it built skill, and it built a portfolio as well to be able to point back and be like, I've already written over 200,000 words. So it was about 4 years of working on that with no results to show, but at the same time, it set me on this course to where now copywriting is a huge part of what I do, and it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't just started doing it.
Yeah, I agree. And oftentimes you're the thing that stands in your way. You as an individual are the biggest hurdle to kind of pass through, whatever you need to pass through in terms of a mental block to take action. And I think people oftentimes don't appreciate how hard it is to really write good copy or a good, a story or a book or a blog post or even a social post. It takes a lot. And if it's kind of not your native skill set, it's very hard.
I definitely found that out the hard way. It's like, well, how hard could it be? And then you start to realize like, wow, there's a lot to this. And I look at people like Frank Kern. I mean, he's just a legend when it comes to writing, sales copy and just speaking to you. And I think just if I wanted to give a quick tip to somebody, I'd say just write like you speak, because people read stuff and they're like, this just doesn't jive, and they may not know why necessarily, but I think a lot of the time it's because your brain is telling you nobody talks like that. And that's what we usually hear every day, is people talking, and then we read something and it sounds nothing like anything we ever hear people talk about, so it sounds disingenuous, and that's a real turnoff for people right there.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people also write to appease search engines. So it's not in terms of a conversational or intent-based kind of focus. It's basically, let's optimize this so we rank higher. But in that, you also have to account for the end user, because if you write something bad and you rank, eventually that's going to fall off, because that bounce rate is so high, and a search engine like Google will not present something where a person just leaves the website because it correlates to they're not getting to what they're looking for.
Yeah, actually delivering that value and showing them, solving their problem basically should be the goal of good copywriting at the end of the day.
Yep, I agree. So what motivates you to succeed?
I think, first and foremost, I think it's just my family. Got a beautiful wife and a little baby on the way. And just knowing that, they're depending on me to, bring home the bacon, as they say. And I want to do my best for them that I possibly can. I was very blessed with some awesome parents who took really good care of me, and I want to do the same thing for my kids. And I think that's and my wife and my kids. And I think that's definitely one of the main motivations. But then beyond that, I feel like I'm a Christian. I believe that God has a big calling on my life, a purpose, an overarching purpose. It's beyond just making money. It's beyond just, serving clients and that sort of thing. And I think part of it is going to require some money, and he provides, but he expects us to do the work as well. So that's kind of my other motivation, is seeing that bigger purpose and knowing that if I'm able to work hard now, provide well for my family, and then generate that wealth that's going to allow me to take that next step and really get into that huge impact that I believe I have that calling on my life. That's I think between those two things, that's the main motivation there.
Yeah, and I think motivations also change, obviously, at parts of your life. So, before you were married, you may have said something else. And I think it's important because depending on what part of your life, it may be different. And myself also, I have faith, in my life. And I think a lot of people kind of pray and don't take the action. You know what I mean? But you have to put yourself in the situation and position yourself to succeed, because just simply praying about it, that just falls kind of on deaf ears. Just praying, I'm going to reach this goal. I'm going to build this business. Okay, well, God can't really get you there unless you do something about it. I mean, he can put things in your way in terms of like meeting the right people at the right time, or being blessed with this situation and that situation. But if you're kind of blindly just asking for something, but not willing to put in the work and do it, I think that's kind of like, I know a lot of people have that kind of mentality, and it's like super frustrating.
Definitely. Yeah. And it results in frustration. I was watching a little Tony Robbins video the other day, and he was talking about how a lot of people, they set a goal and they want to do it, but then they don't take the action. And then that negatively impacts their belief, because they're like, well, I set this goal and then nothing happened. And so then their belief gets knocked down a notch. And then anytime they set any other goals, same thing happens, and their belief just keeps getting knocked down. You have to marry that belief along with that action if you ever actually want to see the result.
Yep, I totally agree. So what's one thing that you may have struggled with in the past that you've seen as a weakness in yourself that you've turned around and utilized as a strength today?
Well, I think one of my main weaknesses is just kind of the introvertedness. I think that has been kind of crippling in some senses, where it's like I didn't want to put out any effort to meet new people or network, or and that's the sort of thing that'll lead to the kind of sales and stuff that you see really successful people having is their network. And your network is your net worth. And so if you're an introvert like me, that can be really hard to actually build that network when you're just too busy staying inside. However, I think that did actually kind of lead to something good in a way, because it motivated me to work harder, within my four walls of my little office here, to not have to go out and do any of that sort of thing. So be able to figure it out, basically. And so I think it was a motivating factor for sure for me to learn all I could and to get better at what I do, so that I can do it on a computer instead of having to go and be the extroverted salesperson type of guy. I can actually do it, kind of from the comfort of my own home, and not have to have that. I think it's a balance. I think I probably err too much on the introverted side, and my wife certainly helps me with that a lot. But I think that was definitely a weakness that I'm working on creating it into, or changing it into an asset.
Yeah, and I think it's all kind of harnessing it. So, figuring out, I prefer, my alone time, and, I don't necessarily like being in super large crowds, but kind of getting yourself out of the comfort zone also, knowing that like you need to be able to do this, or just force yourself to do it, because if you do it, it will make you that much more successful and open up doors that you may regret, because that's one of those things where if you try something and do it okay, a conversation didn't go the way you wanted it, or something, like you became anxious or uncomfortable. Well, maybe you did that, but if you didn't do that in 20, 30 years, you think back at it and, what if I spoke to that person? What door could have that opened? Because we don't necessarily regret the things we try. We should learn from them, good or bad, and pivot. But, you only regret the things that that never were.
Yeah. The action that you didn't take. Yeah, for sure.
So what's one thing you can leave with the audience in terms of advice, personal or professional?
Yeah, I was thinking about this. I think one of the biggest things that I see messing people up, especially kind of this digital entrepreneur, or just any entrepreneur really, is a lack of prioritization. I feel like so many people get so focused on the business side of things that they neglect the other stuff. And really, at the end of the day, you got to ask yourself, what good is a business if you have like a super successful business and all the money in the world? If you have sacrificed your health, your family, your spiritual life, your relationships, all that stuff, if you've given that up in exchange for a successful business, you're going to be a very unhappy person. So I think that is the biggest thing, is to really prioritize, and that's tricky for me. I'm a very I guess passionate would be the nice word. Obsessive might be the less nice word. When I'm on a project, when I'm working on something, I get into it, and it's really hard for me to take a break, to actually like, okay, let's go have coffee. Let's go for a walk. Let's, take some time to get away from the computer and just, spend some time with people or things like that. So I would definitely recommend that people just, look at your day and see where you are, focusing too much, and where you need to focus more. I think just prioritizing, your health is huge. That is definitely a big thing that people need to focus on. And then just your relationships, because at the end of the day, life is about relationships. Your relationship with God, relationship with your family and other people. Like that's what it boils down to. If you have all the money in the world and nobody to share it with, it's not going to be a very happy ending to your story. So yeah, just really look at your life and find those places where you need to adjust your priorities.
Yeah, and I don't think there's ever like a 50-50 split, because people often talk about work-life balance, but if in terms of a startup founder, a CEO, an executive, an entrepreneur, that's hard to achieve. So you really, like you said, you have to figure out what's important to you, make time for it, and kind of find workarounds, some of the stuff that you can get outsourced or automated or things of that nature, so you have time or more time to spend with your family, friends, loved ones, focusing on your passion, your faith, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I think that concept of work-life balance is not a good way to look at it, because it does insinuate that like, okay, we do 50% family, 50% work, and that doesn't work either. So it's more, like I said, just prioritizing and really taking that perspective of like, okay, and there are seasons too. I think that's something a lot of people need to realize, is that there are going to be times where you're spending way more time at work than you are with your family, and that's okay, because you're in a building phase. And you're gonna get out of it. The key is to get out of it and actually have that self-awareness, that awareness of your surroundings, and just really make it a season. And then once you come out of it, you're able to focus on the other things as well.
Yeah, I agree. So I really appreciate you coming on today. Can you let the audience know how they can find you?
Yeah, for sure. I would love to connect with anybody who has any questions or anything like that. My website is just invicta.enterprises. And a lot of people are like, wait, what about the com? And I'm like, well, there's no com. It's just invicta.enterprises. And my email is brady@invicta.enterprises. On Facebook, I'm posting stuff like Roman said, I do website design. So I'm always posting helpful little tips and tricks there on Facebook at the Invicta Enterprises, and it'll pop right up. And then I actually have a little gift for anybody who's listening who I know right now, like we talked about at the start, a lot of people are trying to get more online and really have their website, do a lot of the heavy lifting when they can't have people coming into their physical store or whatever. So I put together, it's a little audit that goes through, helps you walk through your website and kind of grade it. And then you can use it actually to even grade your competition as well and see, how your website stacks up against them, because your website's your first impression. So you want to make sure that you nail it. So if anybody wants that, you can go to invicta.enterprises/audit. And it's just a free download that they can get. And I think it'll be super helpful. I've had a lot of people get it and found it really helpful. So invicta.enterprises/audit.
Awesome. Thanks again for stopping by.
Yeah, thank you, Roman. Hope you have a wonderful day.
This podcast has been brought to you by Nova Zora Digital. Find out how Nova Zora Digital can help your company grow online. Learn more at novazoradigital.com. Until next time, all you digital savages.